In 1815, Britain celebrated victory over Napoleon. But behind the cheering crowds and triumphant headlines, the government faced a terrifying financial truth. The country was effectively bankrupt. After more than 20 years of almost uninterrupted war with revolutionary and Napoleonic France, Britain had spent money on a scale never seen before in its history. The wars required massive armies, the world's largest navy, endless supplies, global campaigns, and financial support for nearly every European coalition. To pay for this, the government borrowed constantly, issuing huge amounts of government bonds called consols. As a result, Britain's national debt exploded from £228 million in 1793 to more than £900 million by 1815, a level equal to over 250% of the country's entire economic output. Modern Britain, even during the COVID crisis, reached only around 100% of GDP. In 1815, the country owed more than double its economy's annual size, making it the highest debt burden in British history. At one point, more than 60% of all government spending went toward interest payments alone, leaving little for public services, infrastructure, or welfare. This debt crisis was made even worse by collapsing trade during the war, disrupted by blockades, naval battles, and global instability. With exports falling and tax revenue shrinking, Britain had less money coming in just as its borrowing costs exploded. In 1797, during a financial panic, the government suspended the gold standard through the Bank Restriction Act, allowing the Bank of England to issue banknotes without holding equivalent gold reserves. This temporarily helped the war effort, but caused inflation that made food and everyday goods more expensive, triggering bread riots and social unrest. When the war finally ended in 1815, victory brought celebration, but not prosperity. More than 300,000 soldiers returned home to find few jobs, depressed wages, and industries struggling to adjust from wartime to peacetime. Britain then faced the disaster of 1816, known as the Year Without a Summer. Caused by a volcanic eruption on the other side of the world, crops failed across Europe, food prices soared again, and famine conditions spread through parts of Britain. At the very moment when the government needed money to stabilize the country, it had none. Investors grew nervous that Britain might default on its enormous debt, pushing down the value of government bonds and threatening the entire financial system. With the Bank of England's gold reserves dangerously low, any loss of confidence could have triggered a complete collapse. To restore stability, the government imposed harsh austerity measures, returning to the gold standard and cutting spending aggressively. Taxes on everyday goods rose, wages stagnated, and poverty spread. These painful measures slowly rebuilt trust in Britain's financial system, but the process took decades. Britain did not return to pre-war debt levels until the 1860s, making it one of the longest debt reduction periods in the nation's history. Compared to today, the 1815 debt crisis was far worse in almost every way. The debt-to-GDP ratio was more than twice as high. The financial system was fragile, lacking central bank protections and modern monetary tools. War, inflation, crop failures, and unemployment hit ordinary people directly, making the crisis a daily struggle rather than an abstract economic statistic. Yet, despite these challenges, Britain survived and eventually turned its financial system into the backbone of the world's largest empire. Its advanced bond market, disciplined debt repayment, and global trade network allowed it to rise even higher in the 19th century. But the crisis of 1815 remains a powerful reminder that even the strongest nations can come dangerously close to collapse. The victory at Waterloo came with a hidden bill that took generations to pay. Behind the glory of empire was a population living through inflation, austerity, unemployment, and constant economic fear. The true cost of defeating Napoleon was not only measured in battles won, but in decades of financial hardship that followed. So when people today worry about Britain's national debt, it is worth remembering that the country once faced a crisis far deeper, far more dangerous, and far more punishing, and still found a way to rebuild. The forgotten debt crisis of 1815 shows that economic power can be restored, but only at great cost, and only through discipline, sacrifice, and decades of careful financial management. And with that, thank you for watching. If you found this story of Britain's hidden economic past interesting, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to British Economic Archives, and share this with someone who loves history as much as you do. Your support helps us uncover more forgotten chapters of Britain's financial story. See you in the next video.